What is up, my dudes? It's your friendly neighborhood registered nurse, Kim, and I'm back with this video because I'm about to be confirmed. Confirmation is what happens, after your 6 months probation. So when all things are good and G, when your checklists are complete, everyone thinks you're alright, then you get confirmed. And now's about the time. It's supposed to be on the 6th of January, but currently it's the 5th, and I'm on 3-day MC because sis started coughing and sneezing, had to get a COVID swab done. Thank God it's negative. But yeah, so I'm just kind of chilling at home and resting. I'm just kind of resting, but I wanted to push myself to not just laze and rest the entire time. So I thought, okay, why not make this video to mark this very important, significant milestone in my journey as a nurse. So I thought I'd just kind of, tell you guys and share more about how the past 6 months have been. And just share my really honest journey and perspectives, advice on what things are like and what to expect, especially as a newly graduated student nurse in Singapore amidst COVID times. Yeah, so let's go. Joining the industry at a time such as this, and a time like this, COVID times, definitely added a lot more pressure to the situation. I mean, transitioning from being a student into a full-time working adult is always such a scary thing, no matter what profession you're in. But I mean, I've been watching a lot of videos of how especially nurses, the first year is such a crucial year. It's really it's really make it or break it, And so many nurses choose to leave after, their first few months or first year as a nurse because of the crazy amount of expectations and stress and pressure that comes along with the job. And, getting used to shift work and all that is honestly the most intense transition and stress that I've faced in my entire life. And I just wanted to share more on that because I don't think as a student that school really prepares you enough for that. So when I entered, I was really hopeful, my usual excited, people-pleasing self going around being oh, let me help everyone, I'm gonna come in and make a change, wow, I'm so excited, bring all these ideas that I learned in school, because obviously, as a student, they paint this picture that wow, wow, we're all gonna make a change, it's just so wow, So I came into the industry having that mindset, and I was just so excited of what was to come. But bam, I was thrown into this crazy work situation, my ward. Let me just give a brief description, but basically my ward, it's a crazy ward. Okay, it's a crazy ward. I talked to a lot of my friends about what our different wards and different places we work in are and everyone agrees that my ward just seems extra crazy. I don't know why. The workload is just so intense. It's a multidisciplinary ward. So basically, we care for patients of all kinds of disciplines. Maybe in a day, maybe I'm taking care of 7 patients. Literally almost all of them will be in different disciplines. Unlike my friends who are taking care of patients in specific wards, maybe a cardio ward where majority of the patients are all cardio respi patients, or oncology where they're all oncology patients. My ward is just a whole bunch of different disciplines. So you need to, it's really being the jack of all trades. You really need to know a lot of stuff. Yeah, so the nursing care plans are also different. You have patients that are a lot more dependent on your care, and patients who are a lot more sick, because my ward is a contact precaution ward. So basically that means that all the patients have some kind of different bacteria on their bodies. I don't really know how to explain it really simply, but I think that's the most simple way I can explain it. You can Google more about it if you want. So things like VRE, CRE, MRSA, just all these kind of different patients. And in general, the vibe that I get is that these patients just tend to be a bit more sick. We have a lot of tracheostomy patients, a lot of patients who need NGT feeding. It's in one team maybe consists of about 12 to 13 or 14 patients. 6 of them can be NGT feeding. I remember when I was a student, I was in a renal ward, and for my entire 6 weeks posting, I only did 1 NGT feeding. That's it's just so different, the care that you give. Yeah, so because of that, the workload just seems a lot more intense. In my ward, like sometimes, right, majority of the time, like going for your break is a luxury, going home on time is a luxury. It's just so crazy. But the really good thing is that you really learn a lot lah. I mean, everyone says that if you can survive here, you can survive anywhere else, and that's the hope that I cling on to, you know. So like, first of all, like entering nursing during COVID time, and then after that being thrown into such a crazy ward, the transition was so tough. At the start, you know, like because I'm only taking a few cases, I'm not like bearing the full responsibility of a registered nurse because I'm still on probation, I'm still learning. It was still quite okay because I was still like very much under the supervision of my supervisors, my preceptors, so it's chill. But after a while, I realized that I started to fall sick really often. I wasn't going for breaks. My prioritization, time management and all that was a bit whack. So like I kept having gastric problems because, you know, like sis wasn't eating at all. So I would go, like my shift would be 8 to 9 hours long, and I would just have one break to like drink one sip of water and pee once. Sometimes I remember there's this one shift that I didn't even drink water. I didn't even go to the toilet for like 8 hours straight. I just like worked. So like my body was dying. In general, my body is just like quite weak, also very affected by like the amount of sleep that I get, whether I eat on time, whether I eat enough, drink enough water. My immune system like gets really affected by that. So like all of this like really took a toll on my body, and it's still taking a toll on my body, but I'm in a slightly better place now. But yeah, when I started, right, it was so bad. I wasn't sleeping. I think y'all know the pre-shift jitters, especially like pre-AM jitters, was so real, even now still. But I mean, later on I'll kind of talk about like the things that I've done to try to overcome those things, those issues. But yeah, so lack of sleep, wasn't eating well, wasn't even drinking water, wasn't going to the toilet, like wow, there was just so many things. And like really I found myself, and am still finding myself, falling sick quite often because of just the workload and the pressure and the stress. Yeah, so honestly, realistically speaking, that is what it's like. I think my friends are doing much better. And one thing that I realized was because when I joined, right, the impression that I had and the perspective that I had was like, wow, I'm gonna give it my all at work, you know, like I'm gonna like go into work and like really change how things are gonna be. I'm gonna invest so much, I'm gonna make friends, like wow, it's gonna be so many things. And that led to me really like burning out really fast. A lot of my friends had this different perspective where it's like work is just work, you know, like who I am is like who I am outside of work, but work is just a means to an end, you know, like I'm just there to like make my money so that I can, you know, like fuel the things that I actually am passionate about outside of work. So I think because of that, right, they were able to have this much more healthy balance between, you know, like work and their life outside. But for me, the one mistake that I made was at the start, I was just like, wow, you know, like I'm gonna pour everything into work, and wow, like that made me feel so drained. And like I wasn't really I didn't have the energy to pour my time and my energy into like the things that I'm passionate about, like, you know, like making videos. I was still involved in church, like wow, there's just so many things. And there was just this huge like I was just like, wow, like who am I, you know, like work was really becoming my life, and how I performed that work was really like, I allowed it to really define who I was, and that's what made the whole transition even more tough. And it's sad because I think that a lot of newly graduated nurses actually face all these problems, but in terms of like support systems, especially at work, or like being able to, you know, talk about all these things and feeling comfortable enough to like, you know, share honestly and stuff, like it's not something that comes very easily, especially in nursing, I feel. I mean, I'm really glad because my colleagues have been super solid. I've been able to talk to so many of them. I have such a strong support system in church, my family, my friends, my boyfriend, like there's like it's been great. But even though I still had all those things, like I still found myself struggling, and I know so many people who don't have access to these support systems. But yeah, if you're a nurse and you're newly graduated, or you've been working for a while, and you know, you just feel like so overwhelmed, it's just like, oh, like, you know, like bruh, like I'm really alone in this and stuff. Please know, sis or bro, that like you're super not alone. So many nurses go through this, especially at the start. Yeah, so you kind of just need to really be kind to yourself and let yourself take this time to figure everything out. yeah, I think that's one thing that that's one really important thing that I learned through the past few months, is that I really just need to be kind to myself. Sometimes it's okay to take things day by day, not knowing, you know, like what the future holds and all that, because there were so many times where I found myself like really thinking like, wow, I want to get out, like where am I going to go next, like I want to get out right now. And like it's really a roller coaster, because you have your good days where you're just like, actually maybe this isn't so bad, you know, like I'm doing quite a good job, you know, things are good, everything's fine, it's chill. Then there are those days, like literally a day after that, right, you can just feel so overwhelmed, so tired, and you're just like, wow, I'm gonna leave, I'm gonna quit. You find yourself on that job portal, and like looking at all the available other jobs that you can go to, you know. It's super real. I think when you first join, when you're a newly graduated student nurse, right, you first join the industry as a registered nurse, one very important thing is to set like super clear and healthy expectations of what work is to you. Yeah, if you're someone who is really perfectly fine with pouring everything into work, you know, like you're someone who maybe doesn't have a lot of commitments outside, or you're just like crazy filled with all this energy and stuff, and you're really dedicated to your work, then that's fine. But I think for me, the past few months have shown me that, you know, my priority is still like church, the people that I care about outside of work. But work is of course important to me, but it's not gonna take up like 60-70% of my time. Yeah, that's one thing that I didn't establish for myself when I first joined, and I think that's why there was just this huge mismatch of like who I am, like, you know, like, is Kim the nurse like really who I am? Am I gonna let it like fully define who I am? I think that's something that I struggle with a lot. So set these clear, healthy expectations and boundaries for yourself, so that you don't get too worn out, and, you know, all these lines and distinctions are clear. Because I have colleagues who, you know, like they will stay in work, and they'll stay at work till like, and they will do OT to like don't know what time, just to chill with everyone, and, you know, like set up Christmas trees for like Christmas, all the kind of stuff. Like, wow, props to them, man. But like I really don't think like that's for me for now, you know, because I still have all these like commitments and stuff outside of work. So I have to draw, sadly, like these lines where like, okay, like work is work. I'm gonna make the most of my time at work. I'm gonna be the best nurse and colleague that you know, I want to be and I can be to those around me at work. But, you know, I still have all these things outside of work, and sometimes like it's perfectly fine if I have to take myself out early, go home, make sure I really go home on time, leave like bye, and not have, you know, like this immense amount of like time and whatever that I pour into work, like extra outside of the 8-9 hours that I work, because of all these things outside of work. Yeah, so that's something that you really have to set really clear for yourself, especially at the start. One more thing I realized is that sleep is super important for me. Like, I cannot eat, not drink water, I mean, but preferably I do. But if I don't get enough sleep, sis, my immune system gets whack. My cold sores come out. I just healed from one really nasty one. You know, like my entire mood gets affected. You know, like I get a lot more stressed at work. I just feel super crappy in general. So actually only last week I started taking melatonin gummies to help me sleep. I get really bad pre-shift anxiety, especially before morning shift. I think it's just the general like environment of work, especially for morning shift where it's so fast-paced. I don't like, you know, like when I jump around teams and like I'm not sure like which other patients I'm taking care of, you know, all this, like the uncertainty of a lot of things, and like how my shift is gonna go, like sometimes makes me really anxious. So I realized that at the start, I thought that the reason why I couldn't sleep and why I was anxious was because I'm not competent at work. But after a while I realized like, actually I always go home on time. Like my things are always settled. I don't make any major mistakes or what. So it's not that I'm not competent or what at work. But I realized it's what happens outside of work. I'm uncertain about who I'm going to take care of. I'm uncertain about how my day is going to go. You know, like there can be a lot of movement among my patients. Like one of my patients can be suddenly fall really ill. Like there's just all this uncertainty, and that is what like didn't allow me to sleep well. So I was just like, okay, fine. I didn't want to do it, but I was just like, okay, I guess I gotta take some melatonin. So I bought these melatonin gummies from Ollie, from Carousel, and like Matt's mom also got me some peppermint oil, so I put it in my head. Sometimes I drink some tea to help me sleep. Sadly, like for me, like I have to be really intentional with all these things in order for me to just, you know, like get a good night's sleep. I think another really important thing that I've had to be reminded of, and also had to remind a lot of people of, is that you cannot allow work to define who you are as a person. Yeah. I know it can sound really cliche, but sometimes it's really easy to let, like, if let's say I've had a bad day at work, or I made a mistake at work, or maybe I'm underperforming, or like it's just too stressful, I'm feeling really overwhelmed at work. It's very easy to bring that along with you once you leave work, and just like, if let's say there's this one time that I got scolded really badly by one of my patient's sons. Whoa man, that affected my self-worth so bad. I got so anxious to go back to work. In general, I have a people-pleasing kind of tendency, so I like people to think very highly of me, which is another reason why, like, I put in so much effort at the start of work, and I'm always just like, yeah, how can I help you, even though I might not have the capacity to at that point of time. So that really affected me so bad. So one really important thing that I had to learn the hard way was that work is work, lor. Kim the nurse is Kim the nurse. It's a part of me, but I really can't let that define me fully. You know what I mean? Obviously, I still go to work and I still give it my all. I do my best. I try to be the best nurse, best colleague, best friend to everyone who is in my ward. But if I have a really bad day, if my day just like and like I make a lot of mistakes, or like I'm really stressed out, a lot of things just don't go my way or what, right? Like, I really just can't bring that. It's really not healthy to bring that and let that affect who you are outside of work, like once you leave work. I mean, sometimes it's very natural. You kind of have to take time to like process it and all that. It's perfectly fine. But if it's to the point where like you feel like you're getting affected like day after day, and like after a week you're still like thinking about it and all that, right? Then that's not healthy. So I think that's where my next point comes in, where you have to find yourself a really solid support system. It can be your colleagues, it can be your managers, if you get good nurse managers, nurse clinicians in your ward to support you, your friends outside of work, make friends in work, at work, your family, your significant others. Like, it's just so important for you to have the support system, because I think in moments where you feel like you're just like so overwhelmed, or you're feeling like you're getting ahead of yourself, you need these people there with you, sis or bro, to like ground you, to keep you humble, but at the same time to keep on pushing you to be the best version of yourself you can be, to like kind of, how do I say this? Because sometimes it just feels so like, wow, like everything at work can just like completely overwhelm you, and you just feel so trapped. But you really need these people in your life to kind of pull you out of that and like help you snap out of it. If not, it's really, you're just gonna feel like really alone in this entire journey. So yeah, especially if you have a bunch of nursing friends, like your friends that you've met in nursing, or it can be your colleagues. But I think it's best if it's like your friends who maybe like are in the same nursing phase of life as you, where you journey together, graduate together and all that. I realized that really helped me a lot, because we realized that a lot of us actually face the same kind of problems in terms of like expectations, making mistakes at work, and then being scared of what like our colleagues think of us, not being able to sleep, having all this anxiety. Is something that everyone, I realize faces, but obviously in different intensities. Yeah, so having this support system is so important. And sadly, I think especially in the workplace, there's not so much of like that kind of structure involved. And if you like, if you like make friends at work, it's like a good for you thing. Like if you find people at work who you can vibe with and stuff, is good. But it's just so different from school, where like everyone is in this kind of in the same life phase as you. Like things are more chill. You have time outside of class, and the energy outside of class, vibe and like hang out and get to know each other better. But at work it's so different, right? Because everyone is at different phases of life. You have people who are like us, who's like young. You have people who are like married, have children, grandparents. Like it's just so different. So it's really like up to like luck whether you find someone that you can like really vibe with, and like really build that support system with each other at work. But yeah, I think that's all I want to share. It's just been a crazy 6 months. In another 6 months time, it would have been a year of being a nurse, which is crazy to think about. But yeah, like I'm just trying to take one day at a time. I don't even know what the next few months, the next few years gonna look like. So just trying to enjoy the journey as much as I can, really learn more about myself, about this industry, about my patients, my colleagues, and just like absorb as much as I can. But nursing is such a giving profession. If you really don't take time to recharge and rest, you really gonna shrink into a prune. Shrink into a tiny prune. Yeah, to all my fellow nurses out there, 加油 guys, and like I wish you guys all the best. Especially if you're a newly graduated nurse, if you're a newly graduated nurse like me, let's continue to journey together, and I hope that you guys enjoyed this video and that you continue to enjoy the ride. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.